Greetings! Once again, it is I, the bird. Another product review so soon, you ask? Well, it's Merchandise March here on the channel, which totally isn't an excuse made by LioConvoy to finally review all the merchandise he has backlogged. Today, we're reviewing Wave 2 of Super 7 ThunderCats reaction figure line. Let's go ahead and open them up so we can begin. Like last time, we'll have a look at the art on the cards. While we don't tend to care for packaging here, we absolutely appreciate classic card art. The art on these cards was done by the same artist as the first wave, as Adamson. Link to his Instagram will be in the description. His art, like last time, is fantastic and a highlight of this line. Although the colors seem to be a bit off on some of them, like Jaga's cape being purple instead of blue. But onto the toys themselves now. We'll start with Jaga. While the colors are fairly accurate, there's some issues here, such as his vambraces not being accurate to the show at all, though it is accurate to the vintage toy, likely for repaint potential. Please pick a lane. Paint splotch on the back of his head, and the odd fact that this Jaga has one leg literally too short. I don't know if this is a common issue, or just with this specific one. Either way, it's pretty annoying. The logo isn't very crisp either, and seems to be lacking detail. And while it's nice they threw in the sword from Ghost Warrior as a nod to the character and his foe included in this wave, they probably should have just gone for the standard Sword of Omens, because in that very episode, Jaga also had some armor on, so seeing him with the sword but not the armor is a bit offsetting. Here he is compared to the other Jagas. Next up is the mummy Mumm-Ra. His colors are also off as Mumm-Ra isn't, well, blue, but the overall sculpt is nice and the staff is a decent throwback to the original toy. The legs do move individually, so that's a good thing. This is a nice referencing throwback to the original LJN toy, even including the robe look with sleeves instead of a cape. It is a nice touch. Here's a comparison with the rest of the mummy Mumm-Ras. Following that, we have the Snowman of Hook Mountain. He comes with his ice spear and a helmet. Colors are duller on this one than the animation model, but the sculpt is overall pretty good. I like that the helmet snaps on well and that you can see his eyes through it. I just wish the spear were longer. I also wish you could properly move his legs in a sitting position, but his tunic gets in the way of that. Here he is alongside the vintage Snowman figure, though the vintage one is a bit worse for wear and missing some parts. Next we have Monkian. He comes with a chain flail. The sculpt and colors are overall good on this one, although I find it a bit odd that Monkian's flail came with a chain, but Wave 1's Panthro only had strings for his nunchucks. Some consistency here would be nice going forward. For the record though, I prefer the chain. Now him alongside his monkey brethren. Last up for the heroes is Tygra, and I'm pleased to say that not only is the sculpt good, but the colors are too. He comes with a stringed bolo whip and is a standout figure of this wave. Not sure how they got his head sculpt right, but the ultimate one's wrong. Pictured now with other Tygra figures. Finally, we end the villain roster with Grune the Destroyer, and he's not good. The sculpt details are fine, but this smaller body with the bigger head just makes him a mess on proportions. And the paint detail is a problem too. They literally painted the upper chest and neck area brown like his armor when it's supposed to be skin colored. I don't have a clue how they messed this up or didn't catch it in production. Then again, it's Super 7, so it shouldn't surprise me. Now a photo with his fellow Grunelings. And a shot of both waves together. Something I really haven't talked about yet that's a problem is the posing of the figures. They're very basic, plain. There's not really any life to them at all. I know these are supposed to be reminiscent of older toys, but even that doesn't sell it. To compare, I got two figures from a modern line that's doing the same thing. The Marvel Legends line from Hasbro that's done in this vintage style. I picked up Captain America and Carol Danvers to give us a good comparison on sculpts. Comparing Captain America to these figures really makes the difference stand out. Cap's legs are partially spread out and his arms are in a ready position. He looks like he's going to jump into action. In comparison, all the male sculpts from this line look like they're standing at attention. They look bored. And the issue really comes into play when you compare Carol to the lone female of the line so far, Cheetara. Carol has a similar stance to Cap and has very detailed sculpting in the hair. Comparing Cheetara to her really makes this stick out like a sore thumb. And it gets worse when you compare the leg articulation. Instead of going classic route with the female body like Hasbro did here, or even the vintage Star Wars line, Super 7 decided to give her the V-shaped crotch. While this might be an interesting throwback to the LJN toy, the original toy's legs didn't spread that ridiculously. Still ridiculously, but not that ridiculously. This type of leg articulation is the bane of collectors and kids alike. It's awkward and means any sort of vehicle that may be included in the future will bar them from being seated in it. Adding insult to injury is the fact that this Hasbro line actually has an additional point of articulation in the forearm for their figures too. All of this wouldn't be so bad if the prices weren't so different. These Hasbro figures retail at $9.99 per figure, whereas the Super 7 figures here are $18.99. So you're paying twice as much for figures that are inferior to a retail line. And before anyone comes at me with the "they won't work at retail" as a way to excuse the pricing, Super 7 has Transformer reaction figures in Target right now, $1 less than the ThunderCats line. So it seems more like collectors are being milked at this point. So, would I recommend this wave? Maybe at half the price I could, but at nearly $20 each, I really can't. And I doubly can't since these goons decided to make a vehicle for their Ultimates line first instead of testing the waters with the reaction figures here, thus giving more incentive to collect the line. Just use that $20 to buy a Masters of the Universe Origins figures or something, because this is goofy. That all said, I'd like to thank our patrons. If you want to support the channel, please follow the link in the description to do so. Every new patron is one step closer to my dominance of this world. Feel free to join our new Discord server to talk about all things cartoon and toys. Until next time, remember, the bird is right, and everyone else is wrong.